Well, this is farmhouse at Cantor on Abergeldy. It's got a great view of Craignaban up here, and it's just right abeen Balnacroft for Willie Blair. Was born and for he spent his entire life pretty much. Travelled a bit, but died in the same house he was born, pretty much. And Balnacroft is just down the road here, so we're just going to come down for Cantor and have a quick look at it. This is Druim View, which means Park View really, but it used to be known as Balnacroft, and that's for Willie. Willie Blair was born in 1793 and died in 1884. He's buried down in the cemetery there. His mother was Isabel Gordon, his father James Blair. They're all buried down in the Crathie kirkyard, so that's where we're going to go just right now. So that's it, Druim View, Balnacroft. Well, Willie Blair was born in 1793, the son of a Crathie fiddle player, and would go on to become known as the Queen's Fiddler because he was such a favourite with Queen Victoria and the royal family. Indeed, he played at balls there for probably more than half his life, actually. There's a wee quote I'm going to read out here for Queen Victoria. "Only think, poor old Willie Blair, the old fiddler who always played at our gay balls here and who had done so ever since we came to this country in '48 and long before, died on Tuesday, aged 90. So that's an entry for our diary. As I said, he was a son of a fiddle player, but he actually got lessons. His teacher was a man called Peter Hardy. He was known as Highland Hardy, son of an army surgeon, but they think he might have been actually born abroad, but he spent most of his life at Dunkeld. And he was a favourite pupil of Neil Gow. So Willie got his fiddling style through the Gow school, if you like. Peter, he was buried at Dewally, 7 miles from Dunkeld. And apparently he was an imposing man, imposing appearance, and had a powerful physique. Willie himself, the description was that he was born in Abergeldy. He was tall, stout, and plain of speech and manner, and he was much addicted to snuff, which actually was the extent for he actually set folk near him sneezing. So a dirty habit. But anyway, Willie was a great character round about Deeside and known to all the musicians. His playing was said to be unrivalled by anybody else in the district. In fact, his playing of Miss Lyle and Mully and Doo said nobody could equal him. So he was obviously a great player. No recordings, unfortunately, but luckily managed to find a few of his tunes. So that's Willie Blair, the Queen's Fiddler. Well, I've just come about 1.5 miles down the road for Balnacroft, where Willie was born, and that takes us up into, well, pretty much the Balmoral estate. This is the Royal Lochnagar Distillery. One of the tunes that Willie wrote was called Lochnagar Whisky, so this would be the spot. So, aye, we'll play the tune just in a bit. Well, that's me just come down the hill for Lochnagar Distillery. We're dropping down into Crathie now. In fact, the houses below us are pretty much Crathie. River Dee. It's difficult to see, but it's just down in the trees there. So we're going to head along to Crathie Kirk and have a look at the grave of Willie Blair. Well, that's the view across to Crathie Kirk. I should say the current Crathie Kirk, which Willie Blair never actually set foot, and it wasn't completed till after he died, but that's the one nobody would ken. So here we go, we'll go and see the old. Well, this is the old kirkyard at Crathie, and that is the last resting place of Willie Blair. It says, "Sacred to the memory of William Blair, house carpenter and violinist, who died at Balnacroft, Abergeldy, November 12th, 1884, aged 90 years, Also his wife, Margaret Calder, and the two sons as well, Sergeant John Blair and James Blair. So a nice peaceful spot here. Up there, that's the manse. To this day, that's for Kenneth Mackenzie, Reverend Kenneth Mackenzie bides in there. But lovely place, nice peaceful spot here at Crathie. Well, across the River Dee, that's Abergeldy Estate. That's very much the landscape of Willie Blair's life. That's Abergeldy Castle over there, look. Just an old Gordon Tower house. Sweeping up, we've got Loch Nagar there. So you can probably hear it's a busy road, this Deeside Road. Between, well, it takes you up to Braemar up there and on out of hills to Glen Shee, down at the Blair Gowrie in Perth. That's Craignaban, or the Crag of the Fair one. Legend is that's one of the last witches in Scotland was burnt up there. Kitty Rankin. Anyway. This is Willie Blair tune number 1, and it's called His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, Welcome to Deeside. This is Willie Blair, tune number 2. This is Dr. Prophet's Strathspey. This is Willie Blair, tune number 3, and it's a reel called Abergeldy. This is Willie Blair, tune number 4, Craiggowan. Willie Blair, tune number 5. This is Miss MacDonald, Clachanturns. This is Willie Blair, tune number 6, and it's a Strathspey card, Loch Nagar Whisky. This is Willie Blair tune number 7, and it's Miss Anne Simon's Reel. This is Willie Blair tune number 8. Was it 8 or 9? 8. This is a Slespaked Mar Castle. Willie Blair tune number 9. This is John Lamont's Reel. This is Willie Blair tune number 11. This is the Balmoral Reel. This is Willie Blair tune number 11. This is the Balmoral Reel. Beastie. This is Willie Blair tune number 12. This is Loch Nick. Right, this is Willie Blair tune number 13, I think it is, and it's MA Troops Reel. Just like that. This is Willie Blair tune number 14, modestly titled The Queen's Fiddler's Compliments to Mr. Troop. Willie Blair, tune number 14, and the last in the wee collection of his tunes is modestly titled The Queen's Fiddler's Compliments to Mr. Troop. So I'm going to read you a wee anecdote for a publication. I don't know what the book is, but it's just an excerpt which I found, and it's quite interesting. It gives a bit of insight into Willie Blair's personality and character. It goes like this. I'm just going to read it out. Among the notabilities of the parish, none deserve a higher place than Willie Blair, the Queen's Fiddler, as he was called, an indispensable guest at every festive gathering. Willie well merited the title often bestowed on him of the Neil-Gow of Deeside, for not only was he an admirable interpreter of that great master of Scottish reels, but he was no mean composer himself. The Brig of Crathie and Miss Anderson's Strathspey, both of his compositions, are admirable dancing tunes. Willie was a bit of a wag in a kindly, cynical fashion, and it was amusing to watch his face as he played. Quite at home with his instrument, he was free to notice what went on around him, and was a keen critic of the dancers. On one occasion he delighted a lady by assuring her that there was not a dancer on the floor like her husband. This was undoubtedly true, though not in the sense accepted by her, for the gentleman in question was equally ignorant of time and tune. So stirring were the strains of Willie's fiddle that few could sit still when his bow was at work. The fame of his Scottish music reached beyond the upper valley of the Dee, for once he went on tour to Ireland with Julian Adams' band. When asked how the Dublin people liked his music, his reply was, "Rail wheel, they just patted me back ilka time." Encore was not in Willie's vocabulary. Willie had a formidable rival on the other side of the Grampians, with whom he met sometimes for a musical duel. I think the battle was generally admitted to be a drawn one, and Willie was far too fair-minded not to allow the Perthshire man a qualified measure of approval. He used to say, "Aye, he can play, but he has just got the stot o' it." By this he meant the special marking of the time, which is a most essential feature in reel playing. So much was Willie in special request that over-conviviality was apt to follow. When this occurred, he always made his way to the manse to take what is called in Scotland the first word of flyting, for the minister had often warned Willie, against overindulgence on festive occasions when the whisky bottle circulated freely. Asking to see the minister, he would say, "I've been out at the dance at the Inver, Mr. Anderson, and I just came on my way hame that you might see me, in case you should hear I was war nor I am." Willie lived to be over 90 and fiddled almost to the last. There you go. Some anecdotes about Willie Blair. The only other I heard was it was actually my mate Ian Murray from Ballater, great local historian, and he'd interviewed probably hundreds of folk that are now nae here. There are indeed, and some of these Kent folk could mind Willie, and one of the anecdotes was that folk had bid near Balnacroft for Willie bid, swore that on windy nights they could hear his fiddle still playing, even though he's long dead. So quite a nice wee story that. I'd like to go up some stormy night and see if I can hear his fiddle playing. Anyway, that's Willie Blair for you.